Welcome to the Pocket, everyone. I am your host, Scooter. We are live with the Week 18 preview. Feel free to ask questions if you are watching live. Happy New Year, everyone. And I hope you all had as good of a time as I did during this new year, as the 2026 half of the 2025-2026 season is here. The playoffs are nearly decided, and some teams are gearing up. Some are resting their starters, and some are tanking for draft position. It's one of the hardest weeks all year, all season to predict in one of the craziest seasons that we've had in recent memory, and things I imagine are going to get interesting by the end of it. There are only 3 meaningful games, but like I said, there's lots of twists and turns with who's starting, who's not. But the big games are going to be starting things off with the Panthers at the Bucks to win the NFC South, and then you have the battle for the NFC West and the 1 seed in the NFC playoffs, and that's between the Rams and the Seahawks. Or excuse me, the 49ers and the Seahawks. That already happened, though, and it's funny to me how Seattle's in this position again, and it's the second time this season in like around a month, and it's the third time in about a year span of time that Sam Darnold is in this situation, and it's just so funny how much, is landing on him over the past season in this sort of comeback that he's had. And then we got Ravens Steelers on Sunday Night Football to decide the AFC North and the 4 seed in the AFC. And then we have, I mentioned, for the Panthers and the Buccaneers, if the Buccaneers do manage to win that game, they're going to need the Falcons to beat the Saints, and they're going to play at 1 o'clock on Sunday. So we have, like I said, just a couple games that are really, really impactful for this Week 18. Most of the playoffs are already decided. I'll pull up the playoff picture right now so you guys can see. It's the Broncos, the Patriots, the Jaguars, and then the winner of the AFC North for the 4 seed, and then the 5 is Texans, 6 Chargers, Bills, 7, and those 3 can actually shuffle around depending on how things pan out between all these teams in Week 18 and narrative that they can't win without him. So it is interesting. I think the Bears are going to win this one close, 31-30. I think they've gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. The Lions have regressed again, and it's just a turning point for the Bears. If the Bears lose this game, we're going to ask a few questions about them because they kind of have to win this one, in my opinion. Up next, we got the Cowboys at the Giants, and I'm planning on going into this game with Joey. It should be fun. The Dallas, in this one, they've got nothing to play for but pride, really. They're not going to change their draft position too much based on if they win or lose this game. The Giants can fall further in the draft order, though. If they win this game, all the way to 7, in fact, if all the teams ahead of them, or behind them rather, end up winning or losing. Yeah, if they all lose and the Giants win, the Giants will fall below them. And I just get the feeling that both teams are going to be playing really hard and trying to leave their mark on the season on this game and battle it out. Division game. It's going to get a little heated, I even think. And the Giants backups, they played hard last week, and Dart is still playing hard. And the Cowboys, I think, they're not going to want to lose to the Giants to end the season. And because the Cowboys' defense is really not good, even though the Giants are resting some starters, I think they're going to be able to score some points in this one. But I think the Cowboys will ultimately win if their offensive starters are out there. There's no way we should be able to stop them. So I'm picking the Cowboys in this one, 31-27. Up next, we got the Colts at the Texans. And I'm kind of interested to see Rivers versus this Texans defense. But I don't think he's got the arm strength to match their speed and coverage, and it's just not going to be enough for them. Texans are a far better team at this point. Give me them to win 26-20. Next, we got the Broncos, who are likely going to be handed the AFC 1 seed by the Chargers in their matchup, as the Chargers are resting Justin Herbert and some of their starters. So that should be a blowout win for the Broncos as they secure the 1 seed. Give me them to win 30-14. Next, we got the Chiefs, who are dreadful and on their 3rd-string quarterback, who will go to Vegas and try to out-tank the Raiders, who may get investigated because they're so good at tanking. And who knows what's going to happen in this one, really. I mean, you got a team that's trying to lose versus a team that's also kind of trying to lose, but they're on their 3rd-string quarterback, and it makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to just pick the Raiders in this one, 16-13, because screw them. Screw the Raiders. Screw them for benching Max Crosby when he had absolutely nothing wrong with him. I'm sure the Giants are doing the same thing, but just screw the Raiders. Screw them for that. Next, we got the Browns at the Bengals. And the Browns pulled off the upset last week against a DK Metcalf-less Steelers team. And historically, they give the Steelers or the Bengals trouble on offense. And they can't really move the ball. And it happened this season again. It happens every year. But I think the Bengals are playing for more here. And I'm going to pick them to win a weird game. 25-24. Shedeur Sanders and Joe Burrow going at it in the last game of the season. Just two inversely created surrounding structures for quarterbacks, and we're going to just see them go toe-to-toe. And it's going to be great. Next, we got the Packers, who are benching Love and Malik Willis versus the Vikings, so the Vikings should clearly win. Give me them 27-17. Pretty meaningless game. And then you got the Jaguars at the Titans, and the Titans are going to tank out, and the Jaguars have a shot at the 1 seed. So they may not know if the Chargers or if the Broncos have lost to the Chargers, and which it's so unlikely. But they would already, the Jaguars, be favorites in this game. But they can't stumble here. They should dominate realistically. And they should win this one 31-20, I think. That better happen for their own sake. Next, we got the Jets at the Bills. And the Bills have a chance to move up with a win if the Texans or Chargers lose. The Chargers are resting starters, and the Texans play at 1. So they'll know if they can move up to 6 or 5, or if they even care about playoff seeding. Because I've heard that they don't really care what their playoff seed is and who they play. They just want to get there healthy. So interesting mindset. I still think the Bills should win. The Jets aren't as good and probably out on this season, but they might just go into this one saying, screw the Bills. I'm going to pick them to win, the Bills, 21-20. Next, we got the Rams at the Cardinals. The Rams can only climb to the 5 seed after losing to the Falcons. They're no longer in contention for the NFC West, and that's even if the 49ers lose. So they need to lock in after this ugly stretch they've had, and they need to play to win regardless of what's going on around them. So I'm going to pick them to do that 35-21 and dominate this Cardinals team. Next, we got the Patriots and the Dolphins, and they're going to be playing at the same time as the Broncos. So they're going to be playing for the 1 seed. Miami is home. They beat the Bucks with Quinn Ewers in, and they're kind of locking back in at 7-9 now after starting 1-6 on the season. They're kind of the opposite of the Buccaneers. They could win, and I'm not picking it, but they could, is all I'm saying. New England is the best opponent this Dolphins team has faced in 2 months. And it's just going to be another level for them, and they're going to be playing the win. So I'm going to pick the Patriots to win 28-17. And then finally, we have Washington at Philadelphia during the Bears game. So they won't know, but they don't care. The Eagles are benching Hurts, and they don't care about seeding. Tanner McKee is a good backup, though, and the Eagles are deep at every position, and I think they're going to win this one still, regardless, 30-24. They're the superior football team, and that's how it should go. And guys, if you are still watching, I don't think anyone is. I just may have to go back through the preview of the Seahawks and 49ers game and the Ravens and Steelers game. If the audio is jacked up, then there's really no way for me to make clips from that. So yeah, I'm just going to do that because, I got nothing else to do right now. And I'm streaming for you guys, and I want to make sure that, I have a quality video I can put out there for you guys. So we're going to go back, unfortunately. Only 30 minutes so far in this stream. So we can actually spend some time talking after. But yeah. So let's try this again. So the biggest game in Week 18 is got to be Seahawks at 49ers. It's going to take place on Saturday. It's the Saturday night game, and it's the battle for the NFC West title and the 1 seed in the NFC. And this game, for Sam Darnold in particular, is a whole repeat of last season. And it's just after we thought we already got that repeat in the form of Rams Seahawks. And in the second matchup, that is. And the Rams now, since losing that game, have fallen out of contention for the division title. And now, for the third time in 1 year, Sam Darnold will have to duke it out for the NFC 1 seed. And it's versus the team he lost to week 1. Now, this 49ers team is way different, at least on defense, from that team that played in week 1. Injuries have massacred them, and the only mitigating factor has been Robert Saleh's defensive coaching, who they brought back, and he's been able to get a lot out of the depth and kind of rotational pieces that they have on this defensive side of the ball as they just continue suffering injury after injury after injury on top of guys like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa missing the entire season. Their defense, ultimately, at this point, is 22nd in EPA against the run and 24th against the pass. Overall, they're not great. They're like 15th in defensive EPA. So you should think Seattle should be able to do more or less whatever they want. It's not just going to be easy, but for them, their strength is passing the ball on offense, and that's usually predicated on if they can run the ball, and they should be able to do that in this one. So Seattle isn't going to be walking into like the Chris Shula defense that's been giving him fits over the past couple years. I think the Seahawks are going to be able to score some points in this one. Now, seeing how Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold kind of, gear up for this one, they can't really go into it with that mindset I just expressed because they still have to put in the work, obviously, the coaching game plan for it. And I'm sure this 49ers team has, closely examined, what's occurred throughout this year, what's worked that the Rams have done. They're kind of like a related team when it comes to the coaching staffs. It should be interesting to see what they do. And they did manage to win the first time around. The Seahawks team did not look like the world beaters they have this year, week 1. A lot of those guys are gone, but it's just worth noting. Now, when we look at the other side, when we look at San Francisco's offense versus the Seahawks defense, for the 49ers, their strength is passing the ball, and a lot of that comes from McCaffrey. And they grade out as average in the run game despite having him. So it's just, McCaffrey carrying the entire run game and, a lot of the passing game. And Seattle's strength on defense is stopping the run. They're number 1 in the league in EPA by a wide margin. Against the pass, they're 8th best. And overall, these two teams, San Francisco is 5th in offensive EPA and Seattle's 11th. Defensively, Seattle's 2nd in EPA and the 49ers are 15th. So, Seattle has the most elite unit out of those 4 with the 2nd graded defense. They're both, none of them have something that's worse than average in terms of San Fran's defense being 15th. That's still okay when it comes to grading out. And but overall, based on those numbers describing the teams, it should be a fairly even matchup. That's 2 good football teams right there. And you got to wonder, what is going to be the thing that pushes this game to be a potential win for the 49ers and a close game? Because you would look at all this and you would even look a few weeks ago and you say, Seahawks should win this game. They should win this game. The 49ers are destroyed by injuries, but the Seahawks are only 1.5-point favorites in this game. And so you gotta wonder, why are they giving the 49ers such a chance? Well, it's because of Christian McCaffrey, like I mentioned. If he's still a threat in the pass game, which he was in the last game, it was basically the whole reason they won. For the whole last 15 minutes of the game, they just dumped it off to him. They controlled the clock, and they got into field goal range, and they did everything they needed to do through him. And the Seahawks had no answer. I mean, it's the last outlet on most plays, and it's what they want to do, the 49ers. So I think it's going to be there today, or in this game. It's going to be there again, because when it comes to McCaffrey, it's not even really a scheme thing. You're trying to get someone to go up on him one-on-one. You're trying to match up, personnel-wise against this 49ers offense, and it's just hard. It's really hard to do, and he's one of the biggest reasons. But you also got Kittle and the blocking that their wide receivers can do. It's just really tough to match up. And CMC, there's nobody who can guard him one-on-one in open space. You end up having to double him or over-allocate, attention to him. And it opens up everything else for Brock Purdy in this offense. So I think they will also be able to score points in this game, because I don't see him not being a threat. It hasn't been different all year. Every single time McCaffrey's on the field and healthy, he's one of the best football players in the NFL. So he's going to be the difference maker, and I think everyone knows that. And the Seahawks defense has been electric this year, but I will say I think they've benefited statistically from playing lesser quarterbacks and lesser opponents. Now, 49ers played an easier schedule, but just hang in here for a second. Let me walk you through what I mean. When the Seahawks play those lesser opponents, they do crush them. But when they play a really, really talented opponent, it's not like their defense is doing a great job of containing the opposing offense. So if a lot of that EPA statistics is coming from completely shutting down really bad teams, I'm not really, going to care as much about that as when you play the good teams. Because who you playing in the playoffs, you're playing good teams. So that's who your defense is going to be at the end of the season. If you're in the playoffs, it's going to be, how did you play against playoff teams this year? And it's been one of the reasons they've lost. It was the reason they lost the Bucks, 38 points. The Rams, not really the first time around, but it was more so Sam Darnold throwing the 4 interceptions. The Chris Shula theory happening again. But I'm just saying the Seahawks defense hasn't been like unstoppable. It's been beaten before. And so, ultimately, I think it's very interesting to see if Darnold's going to be able to kind of shut up the haters for good with this one. I mean, it is like another test. Like I said, third time in 2 years. He's right now he's 1 for 1, or well, I guess 1 for 2 if you're counting last year. This season he's 1 for 1, and he's going to have an opportunity to secure the 1 seed and kind of make up for last year, and I suppose he still needs a playoff win to really kind of secure confidence in the public, but I think securing the 1 seed is a great start to that. Playing like that 2 years in a row is pretty unbelievable. However, I actually think the 49ers are going to win this game. They are both, the 49ers and Seahawks, on a 6-game winning streak since they both lost to the Rams, right? So they both lost to the Rams and then went on 6-game winning streaks. And they're both cooking it. They're doing it in different ways. The 49ers are doing it through offense. The Seahawks are kind of doing it through everything. But the main reason I'm going to pick the 49ers is that I just feel like they're under less pressure than the Seahawks, and they've been here before additionally. So it's something we've seen from this team is that they always elevate in the playoffs. They always play on another level. And this is basically a playoff game. So why would they not start that a week early and shock the world versus the Seahawks and really say, we're the 49ers, we're here, we're one of the best teams in football. This is when you're going to see it from Kyle Shanahan, the extra juice. It's going to be right here. And now the 49ers throughout the entire season have played an easier schedule for sure, but the past 7 weeks are very similar for both teams. And I think in this one, CMC is going to submit his case for MVP. Brock Purdy is going to end up being the one who shuts up his haters, not Sam Darnold. And he is going to win a shootout against the Seahawks team Saturday night, 35-34. Can't wait to watch that one. Let's move on to the next one. Ravens at Steelers. It's going to be the battle for the AFC North. Didn't you hear about it? We got the 9-7 Steelers taking on the 8-8 Ravens. It's at Pittsburgh. The Steelers are going to be without DK Metcalf, and the Ravens are going to have Lamar Jackson back. And what a fall from grace for this division. Seriously. Over the past few years, this division has always been in the conversation to be one of, if not the most competitive division in football. Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, and the NFC can't stop him. Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl in his first healthy season and 2 AFC championships, and he's Mahomes' kryptonite. The Steelers, who haven't had a losing season in almost 20 years with Mike Tomlin, and the Browns, who historically stink, but made the playoffs a few years ago, and even when they are 4-12, their vicious defense, and Myles Garrett managed to pull off some pretty big upset wins over some good teams and maybe break some all-time sack records. But in all of that, each year, the Steelers, no playoff wins since 2017. The Ravens and Lamar, no consecutive playoff wins in a season. The Bengals can't protect Joe Burrow, and he has surgery on something every other year, and it looks like they're Andrew Lucking him. And the Browns are still the Browns. And now, the Ravens have a shot to win this division if they win this game, with a record of 9-8. To find the last 9-win team who won the AFC North, this division, you have to go back to 1990 with the Cincinnati Bengals, who were still playing the Oilers twice a year in this division. It would be the first time in 35 years that a 9-win team managed to win this division. And it just goes to show how disappointing this division is, not only this year, but year after year. And why people feel whoever wins this division and wins this game will lose in the first round to the Texans, the Chargers, or the Bills, because there's no upside for either team and they're not in that tier. Rodgers was looking great, but now without DK Metcalf, he looks lost. And just when you think Lamar is healthy, he's back out again, and there's media drama about him and Harbaugh and the team potentially trading him. Like, what are we doing here in the AFC North, and why are we not finding success like we should be? Both teams have defenses that were inconsistent at points this year, but have been better in recent weeks and are now the strength of both teams. Pretty classic. AFC North, Ravens, Steelers. On offense, both teams are messy ultimately. The Steelers mustered 27 points last time against the Ravens, but will now be without DK Metcalf again. And for the Ravens, Lamar is practicing again, but he's 3-6 all time versus the Steelers and 2-3 in Pittsburgh. They scored 22 points last time and lost versus the Steelers team this season. A fall from grace compared to their 2024 playoff dominant win over Russell Wilson. Now, Henry did go off last week versus the Packers, and at least that's good to see. But in the matchup this year versus Steelers team, he was bottled up for 3.8 yards per carry and less than 100 yards. I feel like a tie is almost in order for this game. It just seems like it's going to be this hideous game where no one can execute a third down in the critical situations, and it's going to be a tie like 13-13. But I'll pick. And to me, the edge has got to go to the Steelers. Based on purely history, really. The Ravens looked so much better last week, but who says 2026 is going to make any more sense than 2025? Somehow, some way, Rodgers is going to find a way to win this game. And I feel like there are some pretty big variables here. Does TJ Watt play? Does he not? He's a big reason Lamar doesn't play well against the Steelers. If he's not in there, I would definitely pick the Ravens. But if TJ Watt plays, I think the Steelers are going to win, even without DK. Just because I trust what Rodgers is going to be able to do with Arthur Smith on the offensive side to execute in those crucial fourth quarter drives that they're going to end up in inevitably in a close game. I trust that more than like a Ravens offense that just doesn't know what to do when they're losing or there's a neutral game script. And it's just been this messy year. You know, I'm not saying it's not possible, right, for the Ravens to win this game if TJ Watt plays, but it's very possible because the Steelers are going to be in a situation where they're vulnerable to turn into that Ravens team where they just can't do anything and they score like 10 points. But I just think that's not going to be the case because the Ravens defense has failed to show up versus the Steelers too. And so I think Rodgers finds a way and gets it done for a Steelers win to secure the playoff spot 20-17. Should be a very interesting game, and I can't wait to see what ends up happening there. So, guys, that is going to conclude this stream. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to drop a like if you are watching right now, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the other streams for the rest of this NFL season, and you can follow along for the playoffs as we're going to be doing previews and reactions to all the playoff games, and it's going to be electric as this year. It just seems like anyone can win, and I can't wait to see what happens there. So, guys, like I said, thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in the next one.